Hello everyone, I hope you're well. Welcome back for another video. Today is another scrapbook flip through video, and this one is from my trip to Vegas and the national parks of America. So I went in October 2023 and I went with my boyfriend. It was our first trip away together, so we sort of thought go big or go home. So yeah, we had an amazing time. We saw loads of different places like the Grand Canyon, Zion National Park, Monument Valley, Antelope Canyon. It was just amazing. So this was our route that we did. The tour guide that we did the tour with, I'll come on to that in a minute, gave us this map. So we started in Vegas, which is here, and then we just kind of did a big loop around to the Grand Canyon, Monument Valley, Page, Bryce Canyon, Zion National Park, and then back to Vegas. So we did a 7-day tour with Cosmos Travel. We booked it online because it was sort of the perfect itinerary and fitted with the dates that we wanted to go. So yeah, this was like the title page, so I've just done like a sign of all the different places that we went, and then did like a road because it was a road trip, and just put the Grand Canyon and Antelope Canyon because these are sort of, if I had to pick my two favourite places, it would probably be these two. So we flew with Virgin Atlantic. They're normally the ones that I go with when I fly to America. So this was our little, we got given an afternoon tea on the plane, and this was sort of the placemat thing that came with it. So I thought that was really pretty, so I cut that out and stuck it in, and then just got a picture of the two of us and like an arty shot of me looking out the window with my little glass of apple juice there. It was a really nice flight. It was long but went smoothly, and customs in America were pretty quick. We only had to queue for about 45 minutes, which is the quickest I've ever got through customs. So yeah, and we arrived in Vegas about 8 o'clock at night, and so we just got a taxi straight to the hotel. We had the chattiest taxi driver ever, and both of us just sort of were quite exhausted from the flight, and neither of us had the heart to tell him that we didn't really want to talk, but he was lovely and he got us to our hotel, so that was the main thing. So then the next morning we actually had a full day in Vegas before our tour started. We added an extra night just so that we could A, try and get over jet lag before the tour started, and B, just so that we could have a look around Vegas. So we were staying in the Sahara Hotel, which is right up the north end of the strip, and so we got the monorail down to MGM, the MGM hotel where it stops. The monorail was really empty, and it was really quick and easy to use, and sort of we saw the hotels, or we saw the strip from the outside before kind of walking up it and being immersed in it. So our first stop was breakfast. We got off at MGM, which is the end of the monorail line, and we found a Denny's, which is a diner that's pretty cheap and does lots of good food. So I had eggs Benedict and Lee had pancakes, which was very nice, and Lee likes his coffee, so we got a picture of him drinking his American coffee. And then once we'd finished breakfast, we started walking along the strip, and the first thing we found was one of the wedding chapels, and so as a laugh we kind of took a pretend engagement wedding photo to send to our families to play a little bit of a joke on them, which shocked them, but obviously we didn't get married, but it was a bit of a fun picture to send to them. And then I just put a receipt from Denny's and a receipt from Chickies and Pete's, which was the the restaurant attached to our hotel, and we just grabbed some food from there later this evening as we were exhausted from walking up and down the strip all day. So our first stop was, we went right the way to the bottom of the strip to see the Las Vegas sign. There was quite a queue of people, so we managed to kind of park ourselves sort of to the left. I mean, you can see sort of the shadows of people, but still managed to get quite a clear view of the sign. And then there was a man impersonating Elvis, because of course it's Vegas, but didn't manage to get a picture of him because he was charging people for that, but it's okay. And then just written a little bit about what we did, and that we went to a souvenir shop, and I like to get a magnet for every place that I go to, so picked up a little magnet on the way there. So yeah, this was the sign, and then we literally just started walking up the strip as far, we aimed to walk from one end back up to the Sahara Hotel, and we did, which was exhausting, but it was a good way to sort of see everything. So the first hotel we passed was the Luxor. I'd been to Vegas before briefly as part of a tour, and this is where we stayed. And if I was to compare the Luxor to the Sahara, I think I prefer the Luxor out of the two of them, just because it's in a much better location, it's much nearer all the other hotels, and I just preferred the theme of this one. And then the next one we went into was MGM Grand. Lee is a video producer, so it was nice to sort of go to the hotel that's sort of associated with the movies and get a picture with the Golden Lion. Yeah, we sort of just briefly went into the hotel, had a quick look around, and then came out. We didn't really go in any of the casinos or anything. So then the next one we stopped outside of was New York, New York. I like this one, sort of, I have been to New York, so it's nice to sort of see all the landmarks in one place rather than sort of traipsing all the way up and down Manhattan. And then we sort of crossed over one of the viaducts over the road, and sort of got a scenic picture here. Then we saw the Paris one, sort of got a shot with the Eiffel Tower. And then the one hotel I really hoped to see again was the Bellagio, because I just think the fountains are amazing. But the Vegas Grand Prix was on that weekend, and so, or they were getting ready for it, and so there was loads of scaffolding outside the Bellagio, and the fountains were closed off, so we couldn't actually go and see them. They weren't running, and so that was a real shame. But I would say I'd go back to see them, but I think Vegas is one place now that I'm done with, and I don't need to go back to it. So the next one we went into was Caesar's Palace. And so this is known from The Hangover. So yeah, went into the lobby, which is obviously from the film, and then by this time we'd been walking for about 4 or 5 hours, so we were a bit exhausted, and so we just sat down, and we thought about getting a drink, and then the waitress or one of the servers bought us just a small bottle of water, and we looked at the price and it was $7, and we thought maybe we won't have a drink here, so we just nicked a napkin and walked out. But managed to sit down for like 30 seconds, which was enough to rejuvenate us. So yeah, I really liked this hotel actually. It'd be cool to stay there, I think. And then we made our way all the way up to the Venetian. I think this was probably my favourite hotel that we went in. I knew that they had sort of a replica of the Grand Canal in Venice, but didn't expect it to be as cool as it was, and sort of all the ceiling art, and the fact that you could, it feels like you're outside but you're in a hotel. And then I think the outside is just as lovely, and you could see people sort of riding on gondolas and stuff. So yeah, I really like this hotel. And yeah, I like that the fact that this one's sort of the last one of the strip, and then I think it was like another 1.5 hours walk to the Sahara. So yeah, I felt like this was like the cut off at the end of the strip, and then there was just a really long walk back to our hotel. So by the time we got back to the Sahara, it was about 5 o'clock. So we just went and lazed in the pool for a bit, and watched people from the Stratosphere Hotel. They've got like a bungee jump, so we just watched I would say nutters, but the brave people doing that, because it's not something that I'd want to do, but kudos to them if they wanted to jump off a tall building. So yeah, we just lazed in the pool for a bit, and then we were thinking about coming back out for dinner, but we were just so exhausted. So we walked about 8 miles, and it was really warm. It was about 30 degrees. We didn't anticipate it being that hot. I know Vegas is hot, but we were going the end of October, so thought it might be a little bit cooler. So we just went to Chickies and Pete to get a pizza, which was really nice, and just sat and chilled in our hotel room. And we actually ended up going to sleep about 8 o'clock because we were still sort of a bit jet lagged. So yeah, had a really good night's sleep ready for our tour the next day. So we picked up our coach and met our tour leader and all our tour group, and the first place we set off for was Williams, which was sort of halfway to the Grand Canyon. So we had about an hour here where we could have a wander around, grab some lunch. So because it's on Route 66, so we've got all the famous like signs, did like a little jump in shot in the road, and we stopped at a cafe, a little diner, and just had like a snack selection box with like chicken goujons and chips and stuff. So that was sort of enough to fill us up for lunch. And then we found out about Smokey the Bear, who is the mascot for wildfires. So he's dotted all over the place to sort of help people learn about the wildfires and how to prevent them and how to stop them. And then we finally arrived at the Grand Canyon. So this was the main reason I booked this tour. The Grand Canyon is somewhere I've always wanted to go, and I think it's really special that it was like our first trip together. So there were just lots of panoramic shots. It was just everywhere you looked, it was breathtaking and beautiful. Not a place for people who don't like heights. Lee's not particularly fond of them, and sort of there's a lot of like edges with steep drops. So yeah, if you're not a fan of heights, it's probably not the place for you, but I wouldn't let that deter you from going, because it is beautiful. So yeah, it just stretches out for miles and miles, and it is amazing. So yeah, this was our first stop. I can't remember what this place is called, but yeah, you just sort of get a view all across the Grand Canyon. And then we checked into our hotel. This was probably, again, my favourite hotel that we stayed in throughout the whole trip, because it was right in the middle of the forest, in the middle of the national park. So it was only about a 10-minute walk to the actual rim of the Grand Canyon, and it was little lodges for the rooms, and so you were right in nature, in wildlife. We had deer outside our room, little squirrels. So yeah, I loved staying here, and I was gutted we were only here for one night, but yeah, it was amazing. And so we checked into our room, dropped our bags off, and then went and sat at the rim for sundown or sunset. And we stayed here for about a good couple of hours. So it looked like this when we arrived, and then we just sort of slowly watched the sunset and the rocks changing colour, which was beautiful. And then we walked back through the forest in the dark, which was cool but a bit unnerving, just in case there were any wild animals, but we didn't see any, so that was good. Yeah, there were a lot of people getting quite close to the edge, which unnerved Lee a little bit, and so yeah, I've got quite a few videos of him sort of recoiling, which I won't embarrass him by putting them on. And then this page is just sort of like a little self-indulgent page. So when I booked this trip, one thing I wanted to do was reenact a scene from the Britney Spears video for I'm Not a Girl, Not Yet a Woman, where she's standing over the edge of the canyon. So yeah, this is sort of my ode to her and that music video, because I love the song, love the music video, and sort of it was seeing that music video that made me want to visit here. So yeah, this is my little photo shoot page, trying to pretend I'm Britney Spears. So once the sun had gone down, we went back to the lodge and got some food and had an early night because we wanted to wake up early to then see the sunrise. So walking back through the forest in the dark again was again scary, but really cool. We managed to see some deer. We saw a doe with its babies, so we tried to keep our distance and not scare them too much, but it was so cool seeing them and being near them. And then we just found another spot pretty much in the same place as we saw the sunset and just waited for the sun to rise. It was a bit cloudier this day, so we didn't kind of get that actual shot of the sun coming up, but it was still cool to watch the rocks change colour again and just sort of sit and contemplate, like just actually being there. So we sat here for about an hour and a half. It was really cold, so we did have lots of layers on. So yeah, we just sat there, and it'd be a lovely place to kind of get a cup of tea and like a picnic, but we didn't think about doing that. But yeah, just to sit there, and it was so quiet, so peaceful. Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. So yeah, just a few more pictures from the sunrise. This was the forest in the light. So it's it's a paved track, so unless you deliberately sort of go off piste, you can't really get too lost. And then this was a map we were given. So we stayed at the Yavapai Lodge, and then you sort of just walk down through the forest here, and that's where the rim is. So we only kind of did this little bit here, but there are buses and shuttles that kind of can take you all the way around the park. So it would have been nice to explore a little bit more, but I'm really happy with what we saw. So yeah. And then once we'd had breakfast, we jumped back on the coach and just went to visit another part of the canyon. Yeah, I think this was the East Rim. Yeah, I forgot to write this down. And then this is just our key card from the lodge. So this was our final stop at the Grand Canyon. So we actually got to see the Colorado River running through the canyon, which was really cool. And then another sort of lookout point that was again quite high. So Lee's knees are actually buckling a little bit here, and he's sort of holding on for dear life, but he did it. I'm so proud of him. So yeah, if you're scared of heights, just be wary. There's no handrails and it is quite high, but yeah, definitely don't let it detract you from going. So the next place we went to was the National Monument in a town called Kayenta. I didn't really know what to expect here. I'd never really heard of it, but it was sort of learning about the Navajo desert and the Navajo tribes, which was really interesting. And we stopped off for lunch at Cameron Trading Post, where we had lunch and we had some amazing tacos, which were really cool. And we actually we were encouraged to sit with different people. So me and Lee sat with a couple from North Carolina, and it was nice to sort of get to know them and sort of hear about their lives. We talked about our lives, and yeah, to sort of see how different people kind of live and how we all came on to be in this one tour group. So the next day we headed to Monument Valley. So this is the scene in Forrest Gump where he's been running for all those years and then he decides that he's tired and he wants to go home. So I was really looking forward to coming here. We had a little Jeep tour, which I was a bit apprehensive about. I thought it would be a bit bumpy, but actually it was really good fun. And yeah, it was really cool to do. So we sort of saw the main sort of dirt track, and then we went off piste literally onto the sand. It's not really sand, it's sort of dirt. And our first stop was the Mittens. So these are called the Mittens because they look like two hands with mittens on them. So yeah, we spent a little bit of time here. I got some pictures, had to do a classic jumping shot there. So yeah, this was really cool. And then we got back in the Jeep and just kind of kept driving through the park. And then I'm a big Doctor Who fan, and one of my favourite episodes was filmed in Monument Valley. So this is just a picture, or three pictures that I attempted to recreate from the episode. It's called The Impossible Astronaut, and it's one of Matt Smith's episodes. So yeah, just tried to recreate those. So after Monument Valley, we headed to the town of Page, which was a really cool town, and we got the option to do an excursion to Horseshoe Bend. So we parked up at the top of the hill and then walked down. It was about a 20-minute walk, and it is a natural meander that's been carved into the rocks. Again, it's quite high, and there were a lot of people sort of really close to the edge, which even I was a bit like, oh, that's a bit dodgy. So yeah, this is as you approach it, you can't actually see what it's gonna look like. All you can see is sort of like the cutout in the rock, but it's only when you actually get to the edge that you can sort of see the horseshoe shape. So yeah, we sort of just stopped for some pictures and had a little contemplation station, just sort of admiring it and sort of appreciating where we were. So yeah, it was incredible and hard to believe that it's actually real and nature did that. And then the next day we did another optional excursion to Antelope Canyon. This was another place I was really looking forward to, again because of the Britney Spears video. It was filmed partly in here. So it's a natural canyon that has been formed by flash flooding over the years. And so yeah, you walk through it and the canyon just sort of towers above you. So we were in a small group of about 10 of us from our trip, and we had a guided tour, she was fabulous, sort of telling us all about the way the canyon had been carved and sort of helping us get all the best pictures from it. So yeah, I really love this picture. So yeah, that's me trying to be Britney Spears there, where she sort of touches the rock, and sort of just all the formations were just amazing. Sort of every time you turned around a corner, there was something new and amazing to look at. So they have some names for some of the rock formations. So like this one here is called the Bear, because see, like that's his little paws and his body, and then his head and his little nose poking up to the sky. And then this one they call Jaws, because it looks like sort of the shark head from the poster on the film. And then there was another one which that shows how sort of unclear the carving is, but I don't know if it's this one, but I can't remember what picture it is. There's one called George Washington as well, because supposedly it resembles George Washington, but that was one that I found a little bit harder to visualise, but I can see where they're coming from with the bear and Jaws here. So yeah, that was really cool. And this was like one place where when we kind of got to the end, I was really sad. I was like, oh, I want to turn around and go back again, but unfortunately we couldn't. But I would absolutely love to come back here. The only sort of annoying thing is that this is famous for the light beams like coming down and hitting the floor, and we were too late in the season to see that. You need to kind of go at the peak of summer to see that, but the canyon then gets really busy, so yeah, we missed out on that. But it was fairly quiet. There were other groups, but sort of the way they stagger the entrances, you kind of do get most of it to yourself as you're walking through. And then the next day we moved on to Bryce Canyon. So I'd heard about Bryce Canyon, and some friends who have been said it was amazing, and it was kind of one of those places that I thought, oh, this could be like a dark horse of the trip and sort of could be better than I thought it would be, and it absolutely was. I wasn't expecting it to be this beautiful. So you sort of you drive through the park, and then where you park up, you then walk to an outlook, and you can just see all of this for miles. So these are called hoodoos, and the formations of them are just breathtaking. They just go on for miles, and it's beautiful. So there were quite a lot of at the visitor centre. There were some flags with some puns on it. So it said, "Have a Bryce day, Bryce to see you, and Bryce yourself." So yeah, I thought that was quite funny. So I put some of those written down in here. So yeah, we just sort of had like a guided excursion through the park. Our tour guide drove us to different parts, and we got out and had a little walk. So yeah, all through the place there's different hoodoo formations. There is one that's meant to be called Thor's Hammer, but I think I might have forgotten to put that one in. Which is, oh no, there it is. So that's called Thor's Hammer, presumably because it looks like it. Yeah, again, this is quite high up, so if you don't like heights, so yeah, this is Lee being very brave and sort of looking over the edge. And then there's like a walkway right at the top where you get another panoramic view, which is beautiful. Then the next day we moved on to Zion. Again, this was one that I was intrigued by. Other people who I know have visited it and said it was lovely, but I didn't expect it to be as amazing as it was. So yeah, we drove through the national park and then parked up at the visitor centre, and we got given sort of a map of the park. Hang on, try and get that on camera. And yeah, we were dropped off at the visitor centre and then given some recommendations of hikes and walks that we could do. Here we go. So we were dropped off, oh no, sorry, it wasn't the visitor centre, it was the lodge. So yeah, we were dropped off here, and we were recommended to get the shuttle to the Temple of Sinawava. So we did that. It was about a 15-20 minute transfer, and the shuttles are free. You just jump on and off at whichever stop you want. So the first one we did was the Riverside Walk, which was really cool. Funny enough, you walk alongside the river. So yeah, it was amazing to just follow the river, and it was so peaceful. And the rock formations are just absolutely stunning. We had really lovely weather as well. It was blue skies and it was quite warm. So yeah, it was really nice to just walk and hike and go at our own pace, because we had about 3.5 hours of time here, so we could really, just take our time, and we were given a packed lunch, so we could just kind of stop wherever we wanted to eat that. So yeah, we sat down by the river and just ate lunch, stayed there for about half an hour, had another contemplation station where we just sort of chatted, took it in, took some photos. Yeah, and I just think like pictures like this, they're like postcards, they're just absolutely beautiful. And again, the pictures don't really do it justice for how beautiful it is. So yeah, then we went to the Emerald Pools, which, well, we tried to, but the bridge was closed, so we could only stay this side of the river, so we didn't actually get to see them. But I suppose I put that we have, but even though we haven't. But yeah, this was another like riverside spot that we could sit at. I think the Emerald Pools are like over here. There was a way to get to them, but we just didn't have enough time to get there, see them, and then get back. And then as we were walking through the forest, we just came across some deer, which it was amazing. We just saw them there wild. Got some friends who live like on the edge of a forest, so seeing deer for them is like an everyday occurrence. But for me, where. Okay, so my camera decided to cut out midway through that page, so I think the last thing I was talking about was the deer, which was really cool to see sort of in the wild. They were really calm and they were alert to us. They knew we were there, but they didn't seem fazed by us or anything, so yeah, no, it's really cool to see them. And then on to the last day. So our last place that we visited was Snow Canyon, which I'd never heard of before, and despite the name, there's no snow. I think it's named after the person who sort of discovered it or who founded it, but yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised by here. I love cactuses, so, and there were lots of them growing wild, which was really cool, so it was nice to get a proper close-up shot of like a proper American cactus. So yeah, it was just very rocky, very red rocks, lots of amazing landscapes. Saw the moon, which was cool, and then yeah, we just did a little hike around this place. We were only here for about an hour, if that, but managed to get some nice shots, and then we made our way back to Vegas. So yeah, that was the end of the tour, and then just the last few pages have just got some odd pictures to flick through. So made like a little food picture, or a food page. I actually thought I'd taken more pictures of the food than I had, but this was our breakfast at Denny's, our little snack box at the diner in Williams, and of course we had to try Hershey's. And then these pages are sort of pictures that I'd printed off, but they didn't really fit in the rest of the pages. Either I had too many of them, or they just didn't quite look right. So this is just sort of like a snapshot of all the sort of branded places we went to in Vegas. So we had Bubba Gump Shrimp, Hershey's Kisses, M&M World, then the Hard Rock Cafe, Hooters. And then this was like a Las Vegas sign outside, I can't remember what, it was like a car manufacturer or car place. So yeah, we just sat in the middle, a bit like the Hollywood sign. It reminded me of, only not as big. And then just another cute little picture of us in like a reflective mirror with the Eiffel Tower. And again, some more odd shots of Vegas, so Caesar's Palace, the Luxor, the Venetian, New York. Yeah, these were the ones that just didn't sort of fit in the actual scrapbook. Lee was very excited to see a fire hydrant, so had to put that one in, and him with his little American flag. And then proof that he did go to the edge of the Grand Canyon despite not having a head for heights, we'll say. Then yeah, these are just some other shots of the Grand Canyon on the coach, sort of looking out. This was at Monument Valley, the coach, or like a pretend sort of wagon. You couldn't go in it, unfortunately, which was a bit of a shame. And then just some more pictures from Monument Valley, and then these are taken on the Jeep. So it was quite windy and I forgot a hair tie. So I didn't feel like they fitted the aesthetic of the Monument Valley pages, but I wanted to include them just because it was a wild hair day. So this was a bend in the Colorado River. I think this was on the way to Page, so just before Horseshoe Bend. Yeah, just thought that was a really cool shot. More Antelope Canyon, and this was the Jeep that we went in on the tour. And then finally, because we went around Halloween, there were lots of pumpkins, lots of like trick or treat sort of things going on. And then I really like this picture of this flower, it's just really cool. And then in one of the towns we stayed in, there were lots of stray dogs, which was really sad to see. But they kept following us as we went to get food and sort of just wanted to bring them home. But yeah, there's a couple of the dogs there. And then This is like a revenge shot. When we boarded the plane, there was no one in the window seat, so we had the middle and the aisle one, and there was no one in the window seat. And somehow throughout the flight, I managed to unconsciously make my way over to the window seat. No, I did actually just take my opportunity and move there, and understandably Lee was a bit annoyed, so he took that shot as like a revenge one, which I don't blame him, to be honest. So yeah, that's the end of that scrapbook. I do actually have some videos on my channel from this trip if you want to see it in a little bit more detail. So yeah, I'll leave this one there. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!